Oh, huh. Are we live? We seem to be live. First question. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Give us a clue in the comment section below. Got a few people in the live chat. Can you hear me? Hello, this is Houston. Can you hear me? Yes, yes, yes. As we've got video and we've got audio, yes? Yes, yes, yes. Hi, Sean. Yes. No, I can. Okay, so we seem to be good. Anyway, okay, so we are in the house. We've got video and we've got audio. Do we have beer? That is the main question. I've got beer. I need to open one now and pour it into my little glass before we get going. Oh, there's a few people in the house. How many have we got people in? Oh, it's at least 30 people in already. That's a good sign. Evening, Mike. Evening, John. Evening, back on two wheels. Let me just pour my German Weizen beer in the glass here. I've had a few of these already, but we're all good. Don't you worry. Honestly, it's the weirdest feeling here doing these live streams where you're just talking. I suppose it's no different from vlogging. I suppose you're just talking to yourself, but yeah, you don't get any feedback at all, apart from what I'm seeing in the live chat. So we'll just wait until a few people have rocked up. Who's in? Let me just check out who's in the house. Hi, John. Hi, John. Hi, Mike. Hi, Tom G. How's it going? How's it going, Mike? There's lots of mics in the house. Alex. Hi, Alex. Back on two wheels from Munich. Good to see you. Cheers, boys. Now, we've got plenty of topics to talk about before we sort of get the ball rolling, but I'm hoping that everybody can hear me and see me. Mike Griffiths, I could do with a beer. Yes, you should get a beer in, Mike. John from the Netherlands. Andy Man Cam has nicked the O from your wall. Yeah, that's what I point out. My daughter ripped the O off the wall when she was trying to open the window. She pulled that off, but it's actually here. There's the O. So don't worry too much about that, but I've just not stuck it back on. But there you go. Well spotted. Slightly different from TMF's butt plugs that are sort of strategically placed. Evening, Simon, bracket evening. Terry Brooks. Hi, Terry. From Yorkshire Dales. Yes, Matt is in the house. Matt has arrived. Okay, so we're sort of fairly much in the house. Now, I've got some topics to talk about. I've got all kinds of my social media platforms all open, from Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, everything's open. But I suppose the majority of you want to know about the KTM issues that I had on my Super Duke. A lot of you have asked about it. I didn't make everything sort of known on my YouTube channel. I kept a lot of, not a lot of the issues, but some of the issues from my Super Duke I kept out of my content because I just didn't want to be that guy moaning about KTM. But I suppose the main issue is people want to know what was up with my KTM. Now, most of the issues that you'll have seen on my content weren't major. But there was a couple of other burning issues that I just didn't want to go into. I had a few electronics issues. I mean, the issues that I had on my YouTube videos that you've seen, I had a jammed exhaust servo, which totally cocked the bike up when I was down in Turningavad with Andy, and it completely ruined my trip. But later on, I had a few issues with more electronical problems. Seemed to be due to riding in the rain, and especially with starting the bike. If I pressed the button too quickly, the bike wouldn't start. But then it wouldn't start for minutes after. It took me ages to get the thing going. So that was an issue I had. But the main problem I had was with the front wheel. I had an issue with under braking, under the front brake. The front wheel, or the front end, was kind of stuttering under braking. So I took it to the shop, and they had a look at it, took the front wheel off and checked some things and bits and bobs, and said, yeah, the front wheel, or the tolerances between the front wheel and the front brake disc weren't okay, and that was causing the issue. Subsequently, the wheel would have to be taken off the bike and sent to KTM, which would have been out of my possession for 4 weeks, at least 4 weeks, they said. So front wheel would have been off to KTM down in Austria. They'd have tested it themselves. And in that time I said, okay, well, that's cool. It's all covered under warranty, right? And they said, yes, all good. But you're not entitled to a courtesy bike for the 4 weeks that the bike is down, or the front wheel is down at KTM, which I wasn't happy with at all. So that's the main reason. That's why things came to a head where I said, this is just not acceptable. I mean, I'd had enough issues. Things weren't going well. And, for me, that's a thing. If you're going to have an issue with the bike, that's in the back of your mind, that if you do have an issue, the bike is going to be away for potentially, or whatever parts thereof are going to be away from your possession for that length of time. You're not going to get a courtesy bike, which means you're not able to ride in that space of time. I don't know, the whole kind of service thing just spoiled it for me. And there was a couple of small things, especially the dealer. Obviously, getting parts at KTM was an issue. Getting delivery on parts was taking way too long. Getting workshop appointments was a nightmare, because although I've not suffered it from too much, other people, KTM workshops are always rammed, they're always full. So trying to get an appointment to get something done or fixed, even no matter how small, was a disaster. So that's kind of the main reason I thought to myself, is as much of a shame as it is, this bike is going to have to go, I think, eventually, because it's just not it's just not something that I want to be involved in. So that was the main issue. The bike had to go. As much as it sort of I don't know, saddened me to get rid of it, because without a doubt, that bike has been the best bike I've ever ridden and ever owned. The amount of joy that bike brought me was nothing like I've ever had before. So yeah, it's a shame, but like with everything else, you have to kind of move on. For me, the whole package has to fit. So from buying a bike, it can be the biggest bag of shite going, or it can be an amazing bike. But if you've not got the service, and the whole package has to fit. So if you've not got your dealership sort of support, or service support, or from the manufacturer support, then it's a no-go. And it is such a shame, because KTMs have come on leaps and bounds over the years, and it's just a shame. But I don't know. I'm kind of happy. I'm really up for the fact that I've got the XR now, and onwards and upwards. But I'm sure I'll miss the bike for sure. But what can you do? But we shall see. But that is the main reason I got rid of it. And to be honest, a few of you have asked. I mean, a lot of you have asked of what problems I've had, and what problems others have had. Now we ride on. I mean, I've ridden with. In our sort of group, there's at least 4 or 5 Super Duke R riders in our group. Now, in that group as a collective, we've had an abundance of problems. So, I mean, personally, I had a master cylinder fail. I've had a few numerous electrical failures. I've had the servo on the exhaust fail. That was due to a stone flying down the exhaust, so not really the bike's fault. What else have I had? Yeah, the front wheel issue, the front wheel and brake disc issue, which I didn't even sort out. I just sold the bike as it was, and to be honest, it wasn't a major thing. It was something I could feel, but I thought, is it there? Is it not? It wasn't a major thing, but that was the issues that I'd had. But as a collective, from 4 or 5 Super Duke riders, we've had numerous gear linkage failures, to which the whole gear linkage fell off on the floor or while you're riding, so that pissed off down the road that you can continue with. We'd had switchgear failures, to which a friend of mine, he had his left switchgear fail. He had to go into the workshop. The bike was there for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. They sent him a new switchgear from KTM, which took a few weeks. But they couldn't pair the switchgear to his dash. So it was a separate switchgear. So a new switchgear arrived, but they couldn't pair the new switchgear to his dash that it actually functioned. So there was a massive stink up. He then, or they then said, okay, it's not happening. We can't get this to work. So they sent the new switchgear back to KTM. They paired it with a brand new dash down in Austria in KTM's workshop. They had to pair the new switchgear to a new dash so that it all worked, and sent the new switchgear and new dash up to the KTM dealership where he was sitting, which took even more weeks. Put it onto his bike, and that was it. I mean, it's just unacceptable. He was probably without his bike for I don't know, 6 weeks or so. So that was another thing. I mean, we're talking about 4 or 5 bikes here. So there's the list is endless. We had fuel tank failures where fuel tank just decided to empty its load all over so-and-so's bike while out on a ride. We had what else we had? Radiator failures. Somebody's radiator failed just before a weekend trip away. And while he was on his way to the meetup, his radiator failed. It wasn't that far away, so we took it straight to the dealership before it sort of pissed its ass all over the floor. Took it to the dealership. Okay, it's covered under warranty. Your radiator's failed, but they didn't give him a courtesy bike. He said, "Well, I've got a weekend plan. This is shite. We're planning to go away for the weekend. It's all covered under warranty, no problem. Give me a courtesy bike and I'll be away." They didn't give him a courtesy bike. That was his weekend ruined, to which he was excited about going away on. And this is all kind of stuff that maybe stuff that didn't happen to me, but although I had minor issues, some of it for other people was a lot more serious. And it was all stuff that sort of I had in back of mind, and I thought, I don't want that to happen to me. We've had, what else do we have? Master cylinder failures, slave cylinder failures. What else do we have? A few other bits and bobs, but also kind of electronical stuff. So that was the main reason for me ditching the bike, because although it was a good bike for me, I didn't feel that the service was there, and seeing the issues that other people had was just not acceptable for me. So although it was an amazing bike, and we had a great time together. I mean, I had my issues with it, and it was more than I'd liked. The service wasn't there, so it had to go. So we shall see. But yeah, it's all done and dusted. The KTM is now gone. The BMW is now in. But there you go. Before I stop banging on, I kind of welcome everybody here and see what everybody's writing. Frame rate's a bit low. Yes, these live streams, especially on YouTube live streams, the quality isn't the best, but that's something we have to work with. But here we go. What else we got? Who else is in? Have we got any burning questions? I've got some other questions on my other social media platforms, which we'll go into in a sec, but I just wanted to go through the live stream to see what's happening. Most of the people are just saying hello. We'll see if there's anything burning that everybody wants to know. Chops is in. Who's Chops? Chops is in. Lamb Chop Rides is in the house. Hello, Chopsy. He's been out dining on fish and chips with Teapot One. I'm eager to see that episode because I loved the pasty episode that you guys had filmed down in Cornwall. So there's a new one coming out from them guys, which I shall be eager to watch. Okay, 4 weeks on, blah 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 blah. No questions coming in as yet. It's just most of the time People talking about pasties and all kinds of stuff. People in Chadman, same here in California, KTM shops booked up for months. Yeah, it's unfortunate because, I mean, my dealer's a KTM and Honda dealership, and they've opened a brand new Honda dealership further down the road. And I did ask them the other week how the new shop is going, and they said sales is okay, but workshop is on its arse. I said, how come? They said, because Hondas don't break. KTMs are always broken, so at the KTM dealership, they're just rammed. They're full of work. Everybody's KTM is broken. It's just such a shame because, I don't know, KTMs are amazing bikes, and there's so much. I mean, I've never had so much joy and satisfaction out of a bike. The excitement value out of the SDR was nothing like anything else I've ever ridden. But the whole package doesn't fit. If you've got a bike that that's enjoyable and puts a smile on your face, but as soon as the thing breaks, that you just want to, I don't know, you just want to kill yourself. I don't know. The whole package has to fit, and I've never had anything like BMW service. The BMW service, 2016, but bought my first BMW, the 2016 S1000XR, and yeah, it's second to none. Even when I walked into the dealership this year to buy the new XR, I immediately felt this is it. BMW is it, because they just come to you. Everybody's nice. You kind of. I mean, it's not as much as to say they roll out the red carpet or anything, but it's definitely that feeling of, yes, I am in a shop here. I'm going to get looked after. I'm going to get a good deal. Everything is going to be well. You get that feeling. You don't get that feeling when you walk into a KTM dealership, which is a shame, because KTM could be up there with the best. I mean, bike-wise, engine-wise, they are up there, but service, they are down in the cellar. But there you go. Don't want to bang on too much about it, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. What else we got? Give me a minute here to browse through the comments here. I've booked a Tiger in, waiting 6 weeks. So back on two wheels. I've booked a Tiger in, had to wait 6 weeks. Yeah, that's not good, is it? Yeah, that's a long time to be waiting. I mean, every dealership's different, obviously. I mean, a dealership, they can't be held at fault. If they're busy, they're busy. I mean, what can they do? But I don't know. Here in Germany, you get the feeling, I don't know if that's just the country, but when you go into a dealership and you ask for an appointment, I get the feeling they kind of enjoy telling you that they haven't got any free appointments. Even if it's bollocks, somebody could say, "Oh God, I'll have a look. We're full up. We're booked out for the next 4 weeks, but let me just see if I can get you in." That customer service feeling that somebody's trying to help you. But when I went in, they were like, "Nah, good luck. 8 weeks, we're full." And you're like, you stood there. Okay, well, I've only got a small, issue. Anything you can do? Maybe you can have a look into that. Nah, 8 weeks is no, that's it. And you kind of, oh my God, it's depressing. But yeah, it's a shame. But you don't get that in a Beamer dealership. That is the fact. Right, we're going to keep on going through these comments here. End of the day, a bike is for riding and not for stuck in the garage. That is true. That is what we want. At the end of the day, we all want to be riding our bikes. And you can't do that if it's stuck or broke in the garage. JJ Motorbikes, I wish you luck with the BMW. My BMW is no different to your KTM. Total brake failure in the Alps, and this year and even more. Bugger. Oh dear. Yeah. I mean, you can have an issue with any manufacturer. That is there. I mean, it's just how you get looked after. I mean, I had the 2016 S1000XR, and that bike, I think it was after about 4,000 Ks, the bike shat its pants, and I had to have all new cam shafts and rockers. The engine had to be stripped out of the bike. It had to be completely gutted. Within 4,000 kilometers, the bike was brand new, and I I even went up the dealership and had a look, and the bike was just scattered. The bits of it was scattered all over the floor, and I was like, oh my God, this is a brand new bike, and it's just been treated like, I don't know, to me, it was treated like shit. I mean, just having the parts scattered all over the workshop floor and them telling you, yeah, this is broke. But they sorted me out, although it was a devastation at the time. The BMW service was brilliant, and it was in the workshop, I think, for about 4 weeks. And over that 4 weeks, I had courtesy bikes, which I wouldn't have got at KTM. KTM do not give courtesy bikes out for anything. Even when you take a bike for service at KTM, you're not entitled to a courtesy bike without paying for it. And lately, they told me, okay, your front wheel has to be sent off to KTM. You're not entitled to a courtesy bike. We may be able to get you one for a week, but the wheel has to be away for 4 weeks. So I said, well, what about the 3 weeks after that? Yeah, you have to pay for that, for a courtesy bike for the 3. That's just not acceptable. But yeah, I don't know. It is how it is. But what can you do? Lamb Chop says, simple answer is you need a second bike. That is true. And many people, or a couple of my friends that own KTMs, especially the Super Duke GT or the Super Duke 3.0, they all have second bikes, for the fact that when the KTM breaks and goes into the shop, that they can still ride. But I don't have that luxury. I've just got the one. So it had to go. Bugger. Right. What have we got here? Matt. Oh, God. I've jumped ahead of myself here. Oh, my God. There's so many questions here. Just give me a second just to get amongst the live chat here. I've just lost my place. We should be there in minutes few. Yeah, 2 bikes are good. Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I'm going to have to, although not so much now, but I've always toyed with the fact of, that I want to get a second bike. But I'd probably, if I get a second bike, I'd want to have something more retro, to be honest. But we shall see. Okay, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Hi, mate. I love the fact you've bought a more reliable bike, waiting for the next big tour. Yes, well, hopefully the next big tour will come next year. I was supposed to be coming to the UK this year for a tour, but that never happened due to Corona. Whether that is feasible for next year, I don't know. For me, traveling within Europe is a bit more easier than coming to UK, but definitely something will happen big tour-wise for next year. So keep an eye out for that. Mm-hmm. P. Brooker, was the BMW your first choice for a new ride and any other contenders? Now, a lot of you had written and asked about, maybe why I didn't get the Multistrada over the BMW. Now, the Multistrada was always a bike that I'd loved. I test rode it many times. The older one, I haven't been on the new one. But in this, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in this country, Ducati is the Ferrari of bikes. So the Multistrada was in a whole nother price category, even over the XR. I mean, the XR was expensive enough, but for a Multistrada, you're talking here another €5,000, 5,000 euros more for the same spec. So. It's a whole nother price category. And even when I was down at the Ducati dealership a while back and I test rode the Multistrada, I'd asked the owner that was luckily in the shop at the same time having his a service done on his, and I just happened to ask, what you haven't done on yours, and he said the larger service, so must be the 15,000 kilometer service. I said, I don't mean to be rude, but could I ask you what that cost you? Because, the shop have told me one thing, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But so for the 15,000 kilometer service, he paid €1,100. And I was like, okay, so that doesn't come into question. The servicing costs on Ducatis in this country is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even KTM prices, I nearly did a sick in my knickers over, because I had the 2016 was the bike, or the last BMW I had before KTM. So I paid 160 euros on a 2016 S1000 XR for its first service, 160 euros. And for the 10,000 kilometer service, I paid, I think, 230. Now, I went over to KTM. I had the GT first and then the Super Duke R. But the service costs on even KTM were shocking. I think I paid on the first service on both the GT and the Super Duke R was 320 euros for the 1,000 kilometer service. Now, the interval was a slightly longer on KTM for V-twin, rather than an inline four where you'd have a service at 10,000. You'd have a service at KTM at 15,000. But even at 15,000 for both the GT and the Super Duke R, I paid over 500 euros. S1000 XR, 10,000 kilometer service, or the yearly service was 230. So that's definitely something to think about. That was the main reason that I didn't go to Ducati, because Ducati was in a whole nother level. Paying over 1,000 euros for a larger service, just, I don't know. That's just not in my ballpark. But there you go. Right, here we go. I'm banging on again. I've lost my place. Here we go. Who is in? We've got some more people in. Hi all from Romania. Hello from Romania. All good, all good. Mike Griffith says, why didn't they just give you a new wheel? Yes, well, I asked about that. Yeah, nobody's got any stock in. And if you want to get a new wheel, then good luck with that. Wait a few weeks for a new wheel. But I think they're just of the opinion, okay, before we just send this customer a brand new wheel, we need to check it ourselves. It seems, I don't know, it seems like, why can't the dealer test? I mean, they did. They tested, they took the front wheel off and checked the tolerances, and they said, yeah, they're slightly out. But we need to send it to KTM for them to test it. So I don't know. It seems like the dealerships just aren't trusted to do anything. So if the dealership has said, yes, we've tested the wheel, the tolerances are out, he needs a new wheel. No, send it to us and we want to test it, which takes another 4 weeks. And then maybe you'll get a new wheel. It's just all bollocks. I just don't want to have to deal with any of that. The service is terrible. I mean, if the dealership has said, yes, we've tested it to KTM, we've tested that his front wheel, there's something is wrong with that, he needs a new wheel, it just doesn't happen. And they've got no stock. Even they said, we want to put a new wheel on it. Well, we haven't got any here. Okay, well, order me a new one. Yeah, well, that takes 6 weeks and all. So it's a disaster. It's a disaster. So it's a reason why I've gone. But there you go. I don't want to dwell on it too much. I don't want to bang on about. But it's such a shame, because the bike, I loved it, but it's just been ruined by this ongoing bad service from whether it's the dealer or KTM itself. Disaster. Well, there you go. CRT, 4 weeks for a wheel to be tested. Bollocks to that. Give me a new wheel. Yeah, and you can test the old one in your own time. Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's my way of thinking. But it just doesn't happen. Before anything is deemed replaceable, it has to be tested by every man and his dog before anybody says, okay, that's buggered, give that guy a new wheel. And even if they said, as I said, they've got no wheels in stock, and even if we ordered one, take weeks on end. Bugger. But there you go. I don't want to go too hard on KTM, because it's, I don't know, it's a shame, but onwards and upwards. BMW for the win. Same here in California. KTM shops booked up for months. Yeah, seems an ongoing theme, but terrible. We shall see. Let's keep going. God, this chat is just flying by. Okay, let me just catch up a bit. Is the logo staying, or are you going to get a BMW makeover to fit the bike? Yeah, this has been a massive question all over social media. Yes, although I come up with a new logo, I don't know, it's not even a year old, or just over a year old, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, it's not befitting. So yeah, the logo will have to get a makeover at some point, even on the channel. The channel art will have to go, but that will be something I have to do. Shh. Sorry, my daughters are just buggering about. He wouldn't. Mike Griffiths says he wouldn't fit on the Torono. Possibly not, but I don't know. Any naked for me, any super naked is going to be through all levels to the max, but it's not going to be as practical as what I need. I mean, I do a lot of miles, so it's not easy to find a bike or a super naked. I mean, you can tour on any bike. It's just how comfortable you can tour on it and with little stress. But not that I found the Super Duke uncomfortable, and it was fine. I mean, I could get enough luggage on the thing, but yeah, I don't know. With the XR, it's definitely put me at ease. It's definitely, I think I've made the right decision for sure. So. You do not want me. No. Let me see. Chadman says, strangely enough, my local KTM dealer shop, KTM shop is always full of police BMWs. Yeah, probably crashed BMWs. Do you think they should make an adventure style bike with a lower seat without having to choose a lesser model? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, it's always difficult, isn't it? It depends on the rider, depends on the height of the rider, but sure, you can get bikes lowered, but yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer that. Lamb Chops writes, how are you finding the seat on the XR? Quite locked in. Yes, I mean, it's the XR is the only bike that I've ever ridden where you kind of sit in it rather than on it. The XR, the seat is quite sort of, it's like a pan. It's like it's shaped in the shape of your arse. So you kind of sat in the bike rather than on it, which means you have to ride it in a more neutral position. So sort of hanging off the XR becomes a bit more difficult because you get sort of, I don't know, half a seat or some sort of fairing in the crack of your arse. But it's very comfortable, but it's a bike that you ride in a more neutral position, but you can hang off it for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've kind of got used to the super naked sort of seating position on in that respect. But the XR is a much more comfortable position. It's a much more bigger bike. It's massive. The XR. I've kind of forgotten how big the bike actually is. But you know, with the upright position, you know, you've got I mean, BMW class the XR as an adventure bike on their website. It's an adventure bike, which I don't get. It's not an adventure bike at all. But it's more an adventure bike seating position. I wouldn't want to take that thing off road for sure, and it's not off-road orientated at all. So how they class it as an adventure bike, I don't know. It's definitely a sports tourer with sort of more of a foot in the sports area, with the capability of being able to tour on it comfortably. So yeah, I mean, it's a very comfortable bike. It's much more comfortable than the Super Duke, but you know, it's in a different class. You can't compare the two. Yes, power-wise and performance-wise, possibly, but ergonomics, I don't know. You can't compare them, so it's a bit more difficult. But Mike, how does your gusset fit on the new bike? Yeah, I've always had a few issues with the gusset, but I think that was more my older leathers than the actual bike itself. But I've been known to burst a gusset from now and then. What else we got? How is the shift from 2 to a 4-cylinder? That's a good question because completely different rides. And jumping on the XR for the first time since a few years, I stored it so many times riding it back from the dealership. Character wise, yes, you're not gonna beat a V twin, or a 4-cylinder is not going to beat a V twin character wise at all. It's a completely different thing. Whether you can compare the two or not, I don't know. But a V twin, so much character, and the noise that the Super Duke made, especially with the Austin Racing can on there, nothing like it. Apart from maybe a V4 Ducati or a Tuono, perhaps. From sound, amazing, and that was so addictive. I mean, the amount of joy that the Super Duke gave me was nothing that I'd ever had before. But going on to a 4-cylinder, as I said, the complete package has to be. The complete package has to be there. Just having a decent bike and having a shit dealer or a shit service as a whole package just didn't fit. So yeah, I've no regrets. I've absolutely no regrets about ditching the KTM, although I will miss it because it, as I said, it's the best bike I've ever ridden, even owned. No regrets. Yes, I will miss the thing, but 4-cylinder, I mean, especially in the new S1000 XR, yes, you have to wring its neck slightly more to get the power and to get the noise, but it's addictive, just the same as a V twin. So yeah, as I said, no regrets. Difference between them, a night and day for sure. Whether one is better than the other, obviously there's plus and negatives for both bikes, but I don't regret doing what I've done. So there you go. What else have we got? Back on 2 wheels. Mine is back in the UK now. When I first bought it over to talk about 6 weeks to check the warning light. Let me read that again. Mine is back in the UK now. When I first brought it over, it took about 6 weeks for them to check a warning light. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, that's just the thing, isn't it? When it's taking weeks on end just to look over some small fault, that's just not acceptable. Okay, let me just catch up here. Any more questions? JJ Motorbikes, did you know that BMW do not like to take a KTM as a trade-in? They said the KTMs gives them too much trouble. Yeah, I mean, my dealership was apprehensive about, because I said, would you take my KTM as a trade-in? And they were like, oh, God, okay. Let me see what you've got on it. Let me see what mileage is on it. They were apprehensive about doing it. But to be honest, it all worked out brilliantly because as soon as they took my bike or the KTM in, I think they said it was 3 hours. It was online for sale and it was already gone. But mainly because of the stuff I'd done to it and how it looked, the graphics kit, etc. There was a guy from Holland, a dealer in Holland that only liked sort of out there super naked. So he was straight on it like a shot. Within 3 hours, it was sold, and the day after, a guy drove over from Holland, picked it up, and it was gone. But yeah, I can imagine that some people wouldn't want to have that, but I was lucky. My dealership were on board with it, and they were happy to take it in. So all was well. Gordon, the new Suzuki GXS or the GSX 1000 GT looks like it could be a winner. Yes, absolutely agree. I mean, that was it wasn't even before the release date. I didn't even know anything about that bike. Now I've seen videos, especially from Richie Vida, who went on the launch of that bike, and it does look great. Doesn't it look like sort of the Kawasaki H2-ish front end look? It looks kind of out there, but yeah, definitely not a tour bike like the XR, but it's definitely a sports tourer. I would definitely like to have a look at that bike, and it would have been good to get on some sort of launch for that. But Yeah, time will tell, but I would definitely agree that bike looks a winner. Now I don't know on how much that bike would cost. Suzuki tend to be cheaper than most for what you get for your money, but yeah, we shall see how that pans out. But that's definitely a bike to look for the future for some sort of sports tourer. We shall see how that goes. What else have we got? Yeah, a lot of people talking about their issues with their Super Dukes, which is a bit of a bummer. Motorbike tour, I had a Multistrada, great bike, when it actually bothered to work. Service and warranty were pants. There you go. Yeah, so Ducati not possibly great with the same sort of issues as I've had, but there you go. I don't know. Andy B. Bloody hell, Sean, just had my 9K service done on my Super Duke R at the local KTM dealership. 260 quid. Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame, isn't it? I mean, I spoke to the dealership about it. I said that's expensive. 520 or 530 euros it was. And they were like, well, the prices come from KTM, you know, we don't have anything to do with that, but I don't know. Seems country to country seems different. Possibly dealer to dealer prices are different. I don't know. You can only go off of what you've been told, but 260 quid, I would have said that's acceptable. But I paid 520, 530 bucks. For me, I don't know, expensive, not acceptable. Paul Perry, are you going to drink that beer or just keep picking it up? Yeah, I'm not. I'll just keep picking it up and putting it down. You're right there. Let's get on it. Oh, Matt writes, Paul Perry, he's had plenty. Trust me. Yeah, I've had a few. I mean, we started at lunchtime. Blah, 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 blah. Second, blah, 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 blah. What else we got? Lamb chops is stay in the house. Too many hard landing wheelies, I think. No, I don't. I don't do many wheelies. Most of them are sort of unexpected. Yeah, I don't know what's happening to the live chat here. It's gone all to pot. Give me a minute. What I'll do is I think I'll bung over onto social media here and just answer a few of the questions that came up on some of the vids. Give me a minute. There's just so many questions on all kinds of platforms and chats and whatnot. It's hard to sort of keep an eye on everything. How are you finding the XR? I have a Tiger 900 GT Pro, but quite fancy one of these. I had the Speed Triple RS before, which I loved and missed with the sporty engine, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, the XR is a bike that I've always loved. As I said, I mean, I owned it in 2016. I bought the first one, and I owned it for 2.5 to 3 years. I loved it. And to be honest, I mean, I change my bikes all the time. I'm always looking on the market. I'm always looking for what's new coming out. And it's not necessarily when I ditch a bike or I sell a bike that I find it bad or anything. It's just new things come out that I like to try. I try them. I test ride them. I find it amazing, and I just swap them while I'm working. I don't think it's a bad thing for me. I mean, I ditch my bikes every year or even 2 years maximum. Sometimes 2.5 was the longest I've ever kept a bike. So I like to change them all the time. So I love the 2016 XR. Now it was spoiled slightly for the camshaft issue that I had, but it wasn't due. That wasn't only the XR. The S1000 Double R had the same issue, and the Single R. There was a hardening issue with the cams on the camshaft. There was a material fault in a certain batch of bikes, which you'll get in any manufacturer. But regardless, I got sorted out, all new camshafts in there, but it kind of spoiled the ownership for me, because I was always listening to the bike to, does it sound rough? You know, because it was a thing that built up over time. I was thinking this even before I got the new camshafts. I was thinking, this bike sounds rough. Does it sound good? Every ride I was going out on, I was thinking, this bike sounds knackered, or does it not? So it kind of ruined the ownership for me, even after the things had got sorted out. I was always listening to it thinking, does it sound good? Does it sound not? So I kind of, I thought, nah, and I kind of got onto to KTM, and I foolishly test rode the KTM GT, not in any intention of buying it, but I thought I'd do a review on that. And once I'd ridden it, I was like, oh, this is a bit good. I'm going to buy this. Quick test into the dealership, or a quick question into the dealership. What would you give me for my XR? We talked figures and accounts, and things happened. And that's no different from any other bike I've ridden before. I don't like to keep bikes for too long, because I just like to ride other things. I like to test other things. So, how I find a bike is kind of regardless. I mean, I enjoy most modern bikes, pretty much all modern bikes. I don't think I've ever ridden a crap bike where I think, I'm jumping off that was an absolute bag of shit. I've never ridden a bike that's been so bad that I thought, there's no way in hell I'm going to own that bike. Yes, there's bikes that you ride where you think, yes, that's good. Yes, there's a few negatives here. Maybe the positives outweigh the negatives, where you think, yes, I could own that. For me, there's no modern bike outside of possibly a V-Strom or a GS, where you, just from the look of it, you just want to do a sick in your knickers. There's so many decent bikes out there. So I don't know. You just got to get out there and ride bikes and just enjoy them. So yeah, I'm happy to be on the new S1000 XR, and it is an amazing bike, and I'm kind of getting to know it again. To be honest, it's become so familiar, that bike, that I jumped on it the first time when I rode it back from the dealership. It was only a few miles, but I've been out on it this weekend for 250 Ks or so, and it feels like I never left. So all is well. Again, I am rambling on here and ignoring. Oh my god, this chat is massive. Let me just get through and see if there's any questions, burning questions that need to get answered. JD Motorbikes, I wish you luck with the BMW. My BMW was no different to your KTM. Total brake failure. Oh dear, that's never good. That's possibly have I read that one already? Yes. Okay. Now I've got my place. Let me just whiz through here. Okay, we're back on track. CRT, congrats. My MT10 has been a giant pain in the ass. It's had throttle bodies, a cat, rear caliper, and rear shock. Went at 9,000 miles, 5 minutes out of warranty. Oh god, that just makes you want to puke, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, like I said, you'll get problems with any manufacturer. It's just how you're looked after. So that's a shame. Sorry to hear that, but it's all part and parcel. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of. I don't want to get into the problem issue. There's a lot of people writing about their problems with their bikes, but yeah, it's like I said, you're going to get problems wherever you go. It's just how you're dealt with. Yes, more unhappy KTM dealers, more unhappy KTM owners. Dear, oh dear. Yeah, it seems to be a growing theme, does it? But I mean, I knew that before I bought mine, but I mean, I hate when people base a negative opinion on other people's experiences. Yes, I'll research a bike before I buy it. If there's any sort of known problems, known issues, yes, I'll do a bit of research. But I'll buy a bike and then later give my opinion about it. I hate nothing more than people that slag off, say, for example, KTM. They'll slag off KTM, even on YouTube videos, no end whatsoever. But have they ever owned one? Have they ever ridden one? No, they haven't. I mean, what is that about? I mean, yes, okay, they get a bit of a bad rap, but I mean, it's not too horrendous. But experience these things for yourselves before you give a negative opinion on them. I mean, that's just, for me, it's just not. I don't get it at all, and it's so annoying when people have never ridden one or never even owned one, or even if it's just not KTM, any bike whatsoever, basing a negative opinion on other people's experiences when you haven't experienced it for yourself. It's just something that annoys me. But yeah, you'll never get rid of that. But hey ho, what can you do? Oh, Mike, 10 quid. Thanks, mate. Sean, have a beer on me. Oh, hopefully I can get one for 10 quid. I'd imagine I can get a few here for 10 quid. Yeah, this has turned into a bit of a negative live stream. Most people are talking about their bad experiences with bikes, which I didn't want it to be too much. Let's not take away anything from the beautiful S1000 XR, which I'm totally happy with. If you've missed sort of the first few videos, then go and check out my first vids that I've done on that bike. There are more to come. I think there's one more video to come from the from a trip I did on the Super Duke, but that's probably then done and dusted. Everything from here on in is going to be on the S1000. So let me keep looking through it. Blimey, there's a lot of stuff here. Kids are going mad. Let me just go across onto social media here and see if there's any questions. Oh, there's a couple on Patreon that I wanted to answer. From Paul Partridge, one of my patrons. Hi, Sean. Have you ridden, dare I say, the 890 Adventure? If so, what do you think? No, I haven't ridden that. I mean, I've been on the Super Duke 1290 3.0. I've been on the Super Adventure S, the 790 I've ridden, and the 890 Duke, but I've not been on the 890 Adventure, just because it's not a bike that I would ever probably consider buying. Now, I don't know if all of you know, but in Germany here, they're not onto YouTubers doing sort of reviews on bikes, test ride videos. It's just not a thing here. They're just not onto it. So for me to go to a dealership that I'm not a customer of, it's not so much of an issue like I am now, for example, at the BMW dealership. For me to go into a dealership and say, can you lend me a bike for an hour? I want to do a video review on that. If I was to go in there and ask them that, they'd look at you like you were, I don't know, what are you talking about? What do you mean? You want to take a bike out for an hour and do a video on it? What are you talking about? They're just not onto it, the social media side of things. So when I go into a dealership, I kind of have to, I've spoken about it before, you have to kind of pretend that you want to buy the bike for them to give you a test ride on it. So it's much more difficult for me to do reviews. I mean, although it's confusing, because I mean my YouTube content, my subscriber base is 90% UK, American, Australian. There's a small percentage of German followers that I have. It's quite a bizarre thing, especially when you look at all the sort of mainstream or the big YouTubers in the UK. They get implied with long-term loaners, test bikes, bike launches. I mean, it's just not happening here for us, and I don't know. I don't see it changing in any time soon, especially in Germany. There's just not onto the social media side of things. So as I said, for me to do test bike reviews, I have to kind of lie and pretend that I want to buy it, which is a bit annoying. But I'm sure I'll be able to get on a few BMWs now that I've gone back to BMW at my dealership. They're a licensed Yamaha dealership, so I'll probably be able to get on some BMWs and Yamahas for some test rides, because they know what I do. I've known them for a few years, so it's made it a bit more easy. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's something I'd like to do. But a lot of the time, when a lot of the big vloggers get released on launches or test bike rides, the market gets kind of flooded with the same videos in the same day of the same bike. And I don't know if it's something I want to be involved in or not, because it does kind of flood the market with the same content. So I don't know. It'd be kind of cool though, to get invited on some stuff, or to be given a bike for a certain amount of time, but it's a bit more difficult here. But there you go. Dale Hawks asks, what's the standout difference between the first gen and the Gen 2 XR? Keep up the great work. Yeah, I suppose the main difference is styling is a lot different. The bike looks a lot different to what it used to do. The dash is given the new TFT connectivity dash, which first came out on the GS, the new 1250 GS. It took them a while to bring that, or to put it across the board at BMW. I think the XR was probably the last bike to receive the new dash. So that is one of the main differences. The heated grips have been muchly improved on my 2016 XR. The heated grips are absolutely bonk. But that's all been greatly improved. And a lot of you have asked about the vibrations on the S1000. That was an issue even back in the day on the first model. I think it was 2016. The first bike came out from the XR. I never had a problem with the vibrations. Yes, they are there on the XR, like the older model. Even on the newer model, they're still there for sure. But I never found it bad, even on the older model, where it was kind of a to and from. Some people said, even owners, they never even noticed them. I don't know what people are talking about. Right up to the end of the other end of the scale, where people were saying, I can't ride this. It's a nightmare to ride. The vibrations are just so high. Either my feet were falling asleep, or my hands were falling asleep, or my ass. I never personally had that problem, even on the old XR. I did put some heavier bearing weights on my 2016 bike, which improved it some. But that's probably the main questions. What people are asking is the vibrations improved on the 2020? I think it first came out, the new version. Yes, is the answer to that question. Greatly improved. Are they gone? No, they're not. They're still there. But it is much less than what it used to be on the older bike. But for me, even for the older bike, I never found it an issue to say that, I can't ride this thing. It would never have gone that far. So, yeah, motorbikes are motorbikes. It's an inline four. Bikes vibrate. Yes, it's a higher frequency vibration than other bikes. You compare that to a V twin, which vibes, but it's that's German. It's a different vibration. On the V twin, it shakes more than it vibrates. But yeah, it's never been an issue for me. But yes, on the 2020, 2021 XR, the vibrations are still there. But it's not something I would say that is bad. And for me, it was never a problem. So I can still ride the thing, and it's not something I would say my hands fall asleep, my feet fall asleep. So yes, they're still there, but it's never been an issue. Okay. Let's see if we're banging on even more. Oh dear. More negative stuff. More than 10 trips to the dealer, and they are supposed to be premium bike brand. Come on. Seems to be a growing theme, doesn't it? Any questions coming in? Any more questions? Andy B, we're looking to do a tour down to the B500 next year into Switzerland, etc. Are the old Bill in Germany as bad as they appear, or on many other vlogger vids? That's a good question. I mean, no, they're not. I mean, I've been here for 21 years and only ever been pulled over once. But there was a kind of legitimate reason. I'd removed the DB killer, which is highly illegal in this country. So I removed the DB killer. They pulled me over for a loud exhaust, €280 fine, and 3 points on my license. That cost me. That was nearly 10 years ago, and that was the only time I've ever been pulled over. I don't know. Maybe for you guys in the UK, that's maybe it's maybe a more sort of relative point, because in the UK, nobody seems to give a shit about loud exhausts and for aftermarket kit that you put on your bike. Now, when you travel to Europe, especially to Germany, you have to abide by the laws of the country you're visiting. So if you've got a bike that's got a through pipe exhaust, no cat, you've just gone full race system on your bike, which, whether it's legal or not in the UK, it seems to be that everything is legal until you go to MOT. And if you go to MOT, you just put your other legal stuff back on. When even, it's not even necessary some of the time, it seems, because in UK it's not, nothing is enforced by the police. So if you get pulled by the police, nobody really, from what I know, nobody really looks into, if you get pulled over by the police, nobody looks into your aftermarket gear that you put on your bike. Is your bike loud? Okay, a copper might say it was a bit loud. But here, everything is rigorously enforced. So any aftermarket kit that you put on your bike here, you have to have paperwork for. Whether it's paperwork you have to carry with you while you ride, or you get it added into your vehicle dock. So even small things like I added last week some mirror extensions, which push the mirrors out just 1.5 inches from their stock position. I have to have paperwork for that, which I have to carry with me on my person. I need to have paperwork for my exhaust. I need to have paperwork for a screen that I change. You don't have any of that in the UK. So that's the main thing. If you are traveling from the UK, say, to Germany, you're going to have issues if you have a full race system on your bike. So as I said to you before, you have to abide by the rules and laws of the country you're visiting. So if you're coming from UK, it's very likely, it's highly likely that your bike is going to be illegal for German road use. So it's my advice to you. If you come into Europe or you come into Germany for a tour, especially you guys that have put here, Andy B, it's coming down to the B500. You're going to have problems if you get stopped. You may be lucky, you don't see a Rosa the entire time you're here and all is well. But if you get pulled over, I mean, for me, if I have an illegal exhaust on my bike, that's my trip done. So if they pull me over, they test it at the roadside, they look for all the sort of certificate of conformity or whatever you call it in the UK. If you don't have that, or even they do sound checks at the side of the road. So they've got all the equipment to test the decibel level of your exhaust. So if all that happens at the roadside and you fail, that's your trip done. They'll say to you, that's illegal, that's too loud. We're going to take it. And they do. They take it off your bike. They take it with them and destroy it, do whatever to it. And they just leave you then on the roadside. You can then not carry on your journey. Either you have to pick up that bike with a trailer, take it to wherever. And that's just somebody that lives in country, local. If you're a tourist, I don't know. I don't know how things will end. I can only speculate. But all I can say is that if you're traveling from the UK to Germany, you don't have a street legal bike for German road laws, then the potential there to have an issue is immense. But you know, I can only say as much as I can. Maybe I've drilled on too much, but yeah, you're gonna have problems, especially all kinds of other, even down to brake lever, clutch levers. You have to have paperwork for them here. You have to have paperwork for a dark screen that you've maybe changed on your bike. You all have to have paperwork for it. And if you don't have it, they can stop you in your tracks and say that bike is going not 1 meter further. That's staying with us. Good luck. See you later. Here's your fine. You massive bell end. Yeah. So coming from UK to Germany, make sure your bike is road legal for Germany. Otherwise, as I said, you could be lucky. You could not see one rosa in the all-time time. You could be unlucky. Could be shafted. That's your holiday ruined. How long have I been banging on here? An hour already. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Let me check through here. Okay, where are we at? Ducati Ritchie, living in the northwest of England, there are many KTM dealers who choose from, and I believe there is a BMW dealership in the Chester swapping over to KTM because of the restrictions BMW put on them. Okay, can't comment on that. Let me just see if there's any burning questions here. Glenn Phillips, how much louder is the new exhaust? That's a good question, because on the S1000, or the new one, is Euro 5, the exhaust is non-existent on the new S1000 XR. You cannot hear the exhaust at all. Now, that was always the case on the XR. It was more of a sort of induction airbox noise that it put out, more so on the high end. But it seems to be more so on the 2021 XR. So quiet. So the stock can went off. I took that off straight away because, I don't know, you couldn't hear the exhaust at all. None when you were riding along. So, I mean, I'm all up for being or not being too loud, but it was ridiculously quiet. So I shall get some done, or get some videos probably done on the new can. Probably do some flybys. The install video kind of went down the Kazi. I had some audio issues with the install video, so that will probably happen at a later date. But it is much. I wouldn't have said it's. Yeah, it's definitely not obnoxiously loud, but it's like it's a nicer tone, I should say, than the stock can. So yeah, stock can is crap. It definitely has to go. Paul Noble, anything planned? Okay, anything planned with Andy, man? Yes, we've spoke about doing a winter tour. We should see how that goes, because I know Andy has had to go back to work after sort of 2 years off. The slacker. Yeah, he's had a lot of time off due to Corona. Yeah, I think he works in the theatre sort of industry, so that all went down the Kazi with Corona. So he's been off for a long time, but I know he's had to go back to work. So, yeah. A lot of people have asked about doing something with Andy Man. It seems our content, or together our sort of our dual vlogs, seem to be sort of a thing that everybody likes. So we should definitely try. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. I mean, how Andy is for time, I don't know. Whether he's strapped for time, we shall see. But yeah, that is definitely something that we've planned. Here's another one. Indian Media. Hi, Sean. Any plans for another dirty weekend away with Andy? Yeah. It's definitely something we like to do. I get on with Andy brilliantly, and when we vlog together, I don't know, the planets seem to align. It seems to everybody's sort of we've got the same similar sort of humor, so we do get on great. So we should definitely see how we can get something put together, because I know you guys you guys like it. So, and I do, and I'm sure he does. It's I mean, I like to ride solo in between, but I can also ride in bigger groups. I know Andy doesn't like that so much, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely up for going sort of one or two up on a weekend, and we do get on great. So yeah, that's definitely on the cards. So we'll do our best to get something done. Failing that, I don't know, through winter, if that fails, then for next year we'll definitely get something done, I'm sure. Gareth, are you going on any tours with the new bike? Yeah, again, obviously winter drawing in, it'll be slightly less, but yeah, I'll see. Maybe I'll get on a couple of weekenders away. There is some new content coming out on the new bike. I was out yesterday filming. I went on a 250k ride or so that is to come. But weekends away, yeah, maybe slightly lacking as we get towards winter, but I'm sure something will get sorted out. But yeah, for next year there'll be all kinds of stuff, and I'm sure for next year I want to do a larger tour, whether that's UK. I know I put off. How long have I been planning to get back to UK? For 2 years. Corona sort of made a mess of that, but I wanted to do a UK trip, especially to just to bum around UK and travel UK and meet up with a lot of with you guys. Yeah, that never happened. Well, I'm dying to get back to the Alps. I've not been to the Alps for 3 years or so. So a trip to the Alps needs to get done, but I'd still like to get a UK trip done. So something will definitely happen next year. What that will be, I don't know, but I'd still like to get the UK trip done because, as I said, I've been putting that off for a while. But yeah, something will happen for sure. Right. Let me just have a read through here. Ducati Richie. Don't do those reviews everybody else does. Completely boring apart from shops and 44 teeth. Yeah, agreed. As I said, the market gets flooded on a bike launch with the same reviews. I don't know. That's not something I really want to be part of, but agreed. Definitely Lamb Chops. He does great videos. Definitely. His bike reviews are amazing. And 44 Teeth, the guys on 44 Teeth, I love Chris and Al. Even just for the comedy value, those two guys absolutely killing it. So yeah, and that's what, although it's frustrating for me, especially for Andy living in Germany, we have no access to bikes for reviews, long-term reviews, bike launches. As I said, in this country, they're just not onto the social media side of things. So, and you just get looked at stupid if you even go into a dealership and ask for a bike to do a review on. They've no idea what you're talking about. So it's frustrating. But on the flip side of that, I wouldn't want to be involved in I don't know. It's difficult to say. If somebody said to me, "We're going to invite you on this launch, or we want to give you this bike for 6 months," of course you're going to take it. And obviously you're gonna be adding to the flood in the market at that particular point on that particular bike. So I don't hold it against anybody. Obviously, everybody's the same. If you get asked invited on a launch, or you get asked to review a bike, of course you're going to do it. So it's a difficult thing, but yeah, it's as I said, in Germany, it's just not something they're into. So for me, for now, things will stay as they are. And if I do a test bike review, I have to pretend that I'm going to buy it. Bugger. Right, where are we at now? My Rides asked, is there a strong off-road scene in Germany, green lens, etc.? Would you like to try it? Yes, I'd love to try it. But again, like anything here in Germany that's to do with anything fun or good, it's illegal. Green laning is illegal. Yeah. I mean, I live up in the countryside. I've got sort of forest areas around where I live, but you cannot ride off road on the bikes without getting shafted. It's just something that's illegal. Again, the fun police in Germany, they're out and about. That's not gonna happen. So that's another thing that's a bit frustrating. There's no off-road scenes. It's all has to be organised. I don't even know where you can off-road here. It's all organised, sort of closed off areas where you can do it. But just to hoon around some green lanes here where I live, there's plenty of them, but it's illegal. Bugger. Bum 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 bum. What else we got? Let me have a look here. CRT. Any plans for another track day next year on the new bike? The video you did with Andy was very entertaining, apart from the no overtake rule. Yes, I mean, I was due on this year for the same track that I rode with Andy Mancam, but a different event organizer, because the event organizer that I was there with Andy was it was shite. I mean, it came across in the video that we did. I don't know. It's a difficult thing here. The track that we rode has its own emergency service. So if anyone bins it, basically they have to be picked up by the ambulance, the on-track ambulance, taken back to the on-track sort of doctor to be looked at, etc. Are they knackered? Are they not? And if they do properly mangle themselves up, then they have to wait for an external ambulance to be picked up and then taken away to hospital. But for the time that we're waiting for the external ambulance, nobody else can go out on track. So, yeah, it was a nightmare. I mean, we turned up in the morning. The track was wet. It's all kind of well organized. It's a good event organizer, but your bike goes through scrutiny. Scrutiny, is that a word? Do you call it that? I don't know. English is terrible. So your bike gets looked over for sort of roadworthiness, etc., etc. But then which baffled us. They were like, okay, well, it's raining, and people were going out on track bikes on slicks, and they were letting them out there. And on the first stint, I don't know, I think 3 people creamed in on slicks on a wet track. It was raining. Which means then everything gets put back. Everybody's getting scraped off the track, whether they'd injured themselves badly or not. It all sets the time frame back. So very badly organized. So yeah, I'd found a different event organization for this year, and I was booked on, but Corona put a stop to that. So I didn't get to do that. But yes, I think for next year, you're definitely on the XR. I'll probably get back to the same track bids to Berg where I was last year with Andy. Different event organizer, but I think that will happen for next year. So by no means are the track days a thing of the past, but yeah, that was definitely frustrating. I think more so for Andy. Obviously, I'd invited him down, which I felt bad about, because it cost a bit of money, and I think we paid for how many stints? I think 5 stints we'd paid for, which was around €300, €300, and I think we rode 2.5 stints due to accidents, due to delays, etc. And you don't get your money back. I don't know. It wasn't good. I mean, the first time that I'd been to Beg, I did a full day. When I was there with Andy, we did half a day. Trying to ram everything in half a day wasn't good. So you need to be there the entire day just to get sort of enough breaks in there. But yeah, it wasn't good. So hopefully next year I shall get back on track. That's definitely something that's not gonna bugger off. Okay, where's my place? How are we doing for time? Hour 20. Are we all still there? Oh, gerade mehr als 24. Außer die Anbauteile haben die E-Nummer außer die Anbauteile haben eine E-Nummer, dann mussten sie sich nicht eintragen, wenn die eine ABI haben. Yeah, he's talking about the extras that I've put onto the bike. Now, a lot of stuff, most of the stuff I haven't put on, maybe the exhaust needs to have an E number and a European type approval number, which is like your, what do you call it in UK? Conformity number. So it's like an E number that's been tested and approved, that particular part has been made for your bike and it's all tickety-boo. So the exhaust that I've put on my bike has an E number on it on the inside. It's kind of been sort of lasered on. You can either just leave that, or you can get it added into your vehicle docs. Other stuff like the mirror extensions that I've put on there. If you change your screen, there's so much stuff that has to be sort of approved in Germany. It's very confusing. I mean, you guys in the UK probably pull your hair out if you heard the stuff that we have to do. But basically, anything that you change on your bike has to be sort of certified and approved. The parts you put on your bike have to be tried and tested. So there's no cheap Chinese knockoffs from eBay, brake levers and clutch levers for 20 quid. That doesn't exist here. It all has to be type approved. And obviously, the majority of the gear that you put on your bike that does have that sort of European type approval is obviously expensive. So you can't go cheap here. You have to go cock and balls out. No cheap, shoddy stuff here. Bum, 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 bum. Mike Griffiths says, take Chops and Andy with you. I'd love to meet Lamb Chops. I'm sure we get on like a house on fire. I mean, I've been out with Teapot One a couple of times. Was it a couple of times? Can't remember. I'm pretty sure. I've met Bruce a couple of times. I'd love to get over to UK. I'd love to meet the whole sort of crew. Lamb Chops. I'd love to meet Richie Reader. A TMF. I mean, I'd like to meet the lot. I mean, I don't know the guys obviously, and I've done so little riding in the UK, or I've never ridden in the UK. There you go. That's how bad that is. I've never ridden a motorcycle in the UK. But now, having been on this scene for a while, I'd love to get something done with a few of them. I mean, the only times I've met Bruce was when he's come over here to meet us. But that's why I'm kind of itching. Although the Alps is calling and I've not been there for so long, I'd still love to get back to UK just to meet up with all you guys as well, subscriber meetups, and the other sort of mainstream vloggers, because although we chat online all the time and we've got sort of WhatsApp groups with us all in, until you've actually met somebody, it's a bit more difficult. So yeah, I'm itching to come back to UK and meet up, and not even just to meet up, go on rides, go on trips with the other big boys. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully that happens next year. JJ Motorbikes, my last question. Did you ever consider a 1250 GS? I bought and loved it now. I took a while. EU English. I took a while. And the farting sound has grown on me. If you don't care about the looks or the image, it's a bike to adore. Now before I actually bought the S1000 XR, I took the new 1250 GS out just to see, because I was looking to get something more comfortable, a bit more touring orientated. Now I did want the triple black XR, which doesn't come out until next year for here in Germany, so I'd have had to have ordered it. So I thought, yeah, I'll take the GS out and have a look. But I mean, I've ridden the GS many times on the GS Adventure. It's definitely a great bike, but I don't know. It's not something I could. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't. Even now, I wouldn't call it an old man's bike or anything like that. But I don't know. There was definitely something missing
missing there. It's a fantastic bike without question, and again, the stereotypical opinion of that bike is another thing. I don't know. Obviously, there's a reason why it's the best bike ever made and sold. The numbers that they do sell from them, there's a reason for that. But I don't know. Every man and his dog seems to have one, but I don't really necessarily need to have one. Ninja Jazz Tom, Sean test riding bikes bore me to tears, but tour ride's great. By the way, what's with Germany and road closures? Last year was awful and no diversions. Yeah, it can be a pain in the ass. I mean, nowadays, I don't think I've ever been on a ride where there hasn't been some sort of road closure. I don't know. It's just a thing they seem to like doing. I mean, they even close roads and nobody's even working on them. You ride past, the road has been closed, but a lot of the time we ride through anyway. A lot of the time you can get through on a bike. Sometimes you can, as you've seen in videos. But a lot of the time you can get through. And there's nobody working on them, although there has probably been work done. I mean, in Germany, they only work during the week, and every sort of breakfast, lunch, and evening break is adhered to. Everybody knocks off at a sensible hour, and there's literally no work done on roads on weekends. So most of the time when I'm riding, you bowl through a roadblock or roadworks on a weekend, you'll see nobody there. And if the road isn't completely torn up, then you just ride through, and hopefully there's no you meet no rozzers at the end of it. So it's bizarre. I think I'm right in saying in UK, right, they work through the night on roadworks. Is that true? That doesn't happen here. That doesn't happen at all. Hello from Turkey. Hello. Mike Griffiths. How close is the road exactly? Yeah, it's subjective. If you get through it, then it's not completely closed. If you get to a road where there's absolutely no chance of you getting through, I mean, me and Andy have ridden through some horrific roadblocks, as you've seen, or roadworks. We've ridden through some building sites and still been able to get through. But as I said, most of the time it's been on a weekend where there's no bugger working anyway. So a lot of the time you can get through. So it's not too much of a disaster. Right, let me just have a look through here on social media if there's any questions that I haven't answered. Okay, we've gone through Instagram and Face Ache. So basically we've just got the live chat left. I mean, I can keep going. Is everybody still happy to keep going? We've been going an hour and a half. I can probably do a bit more if people have still got questions. I mean, a lot of people have had questions about all the accessories that I've put on the bike. Now, I've just made a video that that went live today. So if you sort of if you wanted to check out what I've done to the bike since I bought it, then go over to my channel and check out the latest video. Now there are, what else have we got? I've been through all the accessories pretty much that I've put on the bike. There's some more sort of, I was out yesterday for a long ride, so that video is still to come. But for the accessories wise, that video has gone out today. But if you've got any sort of burning questions that you want answered, feel free to fire away. Mike Griffiths writes, I've met Sean, and despite what you think, he's an okay bloke. What a God. Mike is a Patreon of mine, and he's become a friend of mine, although I have met him. I met him a couple of weeks ago. They came over from UK. That's the beauty. That's the thing I love about this stuff. I mean, a lot of you, I can't put faces to names. All you are is a name on a chat screen.
some of them, you know, I see frequently, and you can kind of, you know, not put any faces to names, but you kind of get familiar with a lot of people that comment, or the same people that comment. But Mike is a guy that is a patron of mine, and he came over to visit last month. So hopefully there is a video to come. I don't know how I'm going to put that together, because we were chatting on intercom, and you'll have only been able to hear my voice, but we shall see how we go. But that's what I love. It's the beauty of this, the community that we've got. I mean, I put out, when I went to the Alps 4 years ago, the year before that, I went on my own. Or I was planning to go on my own, but I put it out on social media that I was going, and if anybody wanted to come, they could come. Just give me a shout. And 2 guys came over from the UK that I'd never met, although I knew who they were, like most of you on social media. I'd heard the name, and they came over, and we rode for, I don't know, 10 days or so. We did a Euro tour together, and they're people that I now call friends. And it's the same with a lot of other people, you know, especially Mike and Matt that came over a couple of weeks ago. People that I'd never even met, that you kind of, I don't know. First time I never met them, you pull up on a parking space. You've never met them, you don't know who they are, but they seem, you know, it's a bizarre thing to have. You think you know somebody, or you know, or they think they know you. Yeah, because they see you all the time on social media or on YouTube. I don't know. It's as I said, it's a fantastic thing to have. It's a great community, so I'm loving it. So hopefully, as I said, maybe next year I can get over to UK and meet up with a lot of you, because that would be a great thing to do. So Mike writes, Sean, did you ever consider the MT10? No. I've ridden the MT10, didn't like it. Oh, I did. Brakes are shite. Nick Bieber, any subscriber meetup in Germany planned? We we did one the last 2 years, Nick. Where was it at? In Dimmersee, where we met. I think Bruce Teapot One came over, and we did a meetup. So we have done them. It's less so than anything else, because across the board, from my channel, Andy's channel, and anybody else that we'd met up with, our sort of German subscriber base, because we do our videos in English, it kind of sort of lessens the German sort of subscriber base. But I do have one. I think it's only about 5-6% or something last time I looked. Most of my viewers come from UK, America, Australia, and whatnot. So yeah, it'd be nice still to do. We did one last year, so keep an eye out for that. I'm sure there'll be plans to do something else with that later on in the future. Even if I do it on my own, then I'll do something. We'll see how we go. Back on 2 wheels. Do you use all sorts of social media? Yes, I'm obviously on YouTube, on here, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Twitter, but I don't use it. I hate Twitter. So you won't find me on Twitter at all, really. Facebook and Instagram and Patreon. For my patrons is the only sort of platforms that I use. CRT, what plans do you have for luggage on the bike? I noticed the salesman didn't manage to get you to shell out for the hilariously expensive BMW boxes. Yeah, ridiculously expensive. And because I work together with SW Motec, I thought I'll just not even bother with that, and I'll look into some sort of pannier system for the XR at a later date. And there's no point for this year. I mean, I've got all my sort of normal luggage that I was using on the Super Duke, all the tail bags that are sort of non-bike specific.
all the pannier systems that I had on the Super Duke obviously won't fit on the XR. So I'm sure I'll probably get a new rear rack, which will enable me to use some of the rear tail bags from SWOtech. And we've already spoke about. I've already been in talks with SWOtech about for next year, talking about some sort of pannier system for the XR. Whether I don't know whether that will be hard cases, whether that's 2 adventure bike for the XR, I don't know, or whether I go with some sort of soft luggage pannier system like the Urban ABS that I had on the Super Duke that's available for the XR. But as I said, there is a hardcore sort of hard case touring, sort of more GS orientated hard cases for the XR with a top box and 2 side panniers. Whether that's too much for the XR, whether that, I don't know. I tested them before on my 2016 model. Practicality, awesome. Looks wise, whether that fits on a sort of sports straw, I don't know. You'd have to be the judge, but I don't know. With the mileage I do, and I do a lot of mileage, and the tours that I do, practicality kind of outweighs looks. And if you're only using them 2-3 times a year, then I don't know. What does it matter? Maybe we shall see. But there will definitely be some sort of pannier system coming for the XR. Now they do offer, as I said, the hard cases. They do offer the Urban ABS pannier system, which is a solid sort of frame rack, a quick release rack with a more soft luggage, softer side case. They do the Blaze system, which is just pure soft case, which is even without any rack. It's just some sort of there's a sort of an arm system that they incorporate into that, which stops the bags sort of hanging under your tailpiece. But that's a sole soft case luggage system without any sort of framing. I don't know. Maybe I'll go with something more permanent. We shall see. As I said, even the hard cases that they do from SWOtech, even all the framing that they do for those cases is all quick release. So I don't know. We shall see. But there's definitely plans to sort of kit out the bike with the luggage for this year. Probably won't. There's no point doing anything for this year because, as I said, there's no great tours coming up for this year. A couple of weekenders, but I can make do with what I've got for now. So we shall see. Matt, you saying, who's this Mike character? You know Mike will full well, Matt. Any more questions here coming up? What about the new Tracer 900 GT from Stephen? Or are you more European bikes? I don't care what make or what brand or what bike I sit on. For me, it's the grin factor. Whether you sit on a bike and you can decide this is a cool bike, this feels good, this puts a smile on my face. I don't care what it is. I mean, I've ridden from, what have I had now? Honda, Triumph, BMW, KTM. I don't care what bike it is. I mean, I've never owned a Yamaha, but if I like the bike, then I buy it. And I'm not necessarily somebody that has to stay with one brand. Although I stayed with KTM now for 2 bikes, I had the GT and the Super Duke. But now I've gone from KTM and I'm back to BMW. So for me, it's whatever bike puts a smile on your face. I'm not held down or tied down by any particular brand. There's still many bikes I'd like to try. Obviously, most of the bikes I'd probably like are probably out of my price range. I'd like to. I know there's a lot of Ducatis that the Multistrada I'd have in the blink of an eye. That's an amazing bike, and even the Street Fighter, love to get on that. There's bikes out there. Even the Tuono, it's an expensive bike here. Dealerships are a bit lacking here in my sort of area where I live, but as I said, getting to test bikes is just
it's a ball ache, so it's difficult for me. But we shall see. I shall try my best. But Yamaha is now on tap, as I've now bought my BMW. The dealership where I bought my bike at is also a Yamaha dealership, so there's definitely scope for me to try out bikes. I mean, my bike, I'll probably get my bike in for first service in a week or two. So that's the first option or first time I can get on something else. Whether I jump on a BMW, I'd love to get on the S1000R just to see what that's all about. But yeah, likewise, I could get on any Yamaha that they have in the shop. So we'll see how we go. Sorry. Glenn asks, "Hey Sean, how much does winter affect your riding, touring? We don't get the extreme weather in Australia." Cheers, Glenn. Yeah, that's definitely a plus over in Australia. I mean, last year we had in winter we had 0.5 meter of snow, so I couldn't even drive a car, let alone a motorbike in that time. So generally, the last sort of 3-4 years before last year, winter was pretty mild. So I mean, I ride throughout the entire year. In Germany, they do they do a season number plate, which basically means if you're a motorbike rider, you can register your bike for 6 months of the year. Obviously, the best 6 months, the nicest 6 months of summer, which means you pay half your insurance premium and half your tax premium, which I've never understood, because I pay for my bike €75 a year in tax. So why would I want to pay half of that and then risk not being able to ride for 6 months of the year? So basically, you get a number plate on the back of your bike, and you're only permitted to ride. I think it's from March until October, something like that ish. So if November's a great month for brilliant weather, if you've got a seasonal number plate, you can't ride. Yes, you half your insurance. Now I'm fully comp on my bikes, because that's just why I want. They're expensive bikes, so if I crash them, I want to have that peace of mind that I'm going to get another one. So yeah, you'll save half of your insurance. So I mean, I don't want to pay now on the XR €400 a year for fully comp, which is expensive here. So I saved $200 on that and half of my tax. So for argument's sake, I saved $250 a year. I don't know. That's just not worth it for me. I'd rather pay the full whack and be able to ride throughout the entire year. Okay, you may get in December like we did last year where it bangs it down with snow. You may get a few weeks where you can't ride, but so be it. I've never understood the seasonal thing here. It's just not, the amount of money you save is just not worth the sort of enjoyment you could have if you'd not registered, or if you had registered your bike for the entire year. So it's just something I don't understand, and something that I would never do. I've lost my place. Here we are. Angus asks, "Has your daughter been pillion on the XR yet?" No, nobody has yet. I don't know why that is. Everybody's just been busy, but my daughter and my wife has definitely expressed an interest in jumping on the back of that thing. So things will happen. Probably not this year because it's too cold for everybody, but not for me, but for them, it's definitely too cold. What else have we got here? Fountain of Youth 5. As an inspiring YouTuber, I'd like to know approximately how many hours a week, month does your content take up? Yeah, it's a lot. Basically, what I'll do is if I go for a wide ride on a weekend, like yesterday. So I was out all day yesterday. So that's all day riding and filming. Probably takes me a week to cipher through all the footage, edited it, get it uploaded to YouTube. Yeah, so probably a week per video. So depending on work commitments, and I've got a lot at home to do. We built a house, the house I'm sitting in now. We built that 6 years ago, and there's still plenty to be doing outside. So depends what I'm doing. If I'm busy, then I can get. I would struggle to get one video a week, which I did do for a while when I wasn't doing much at home. But it's now become impossible. I'm uploading now a video once every 2 weeks because it just becomes too much. It depends on what you're filming, but the sort of, I don't know, anybody can bang out some sort of video shape or form, not put any much thought into it. But the more sort of creative that I get, I want to make my videos nice and entertaining and sort of inspiring to some extent. So if you want to put that effort into a video where you want it to sort of pop, then everything becomes longer. And especially now, I've been using GoPros the last 5 years or so. Now I've jumped on, or Insta360 have sent me a camera. That's upped the editing time, because everything 360 has to be edited singly or independently before you even start on anything else. So it just all adds up time. So at the moment, I'm filming, say, one video on a weekend, and it's taking me 2 weeks to get the full edited version onto YouTube. So yeah, if you're doing it full time, like others, I mean, Teapot One and TMF, those guys that are editing or doing YouTube full time, it's a bit easier, although it's still intensive. So much of people forget that, although, you'll see a 20-minute video that we upload on YouTube, the time and effort that has gone into that, from whether it's from filming it, editing it, producing it, whatever you're doing with it, one 20-minute video probably takes a week at least for the finished product. So a lot of people don't realize that. Everybody cries out, they want to see videos as much as possible, which we try to do, but sometimes it's just not feasible. And if you're not doing it full time like I do, I've got a day job, I've got this house, I've got 4 kids that want to be entertained, I've got a wife that doesn't want to see me editing hours on end every day. They want to do stuff. So if you're not doing it full time, sometimes real life takes over. But it's not something I will ever give up. So I'll still be here. I'll still be doing it, whether it's a video a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Keep with it. I'll still be there. Ooh. Okay, let's go. What time are we talking? Oh God, we've been going nearly 2 hours here. Is everybody happy to go on? I'll answer a few more questions if everybody's up for it. If not, we shall sort of slowly bring things to a closure. Back on 2 wheels. Do you ever do camping too, or is it hotels? I mean, I've done a couple of camping trips, but most of the people I ride with are not interested in camping at all. So I had to do a couple of trips on my Todd, but I've got everything gear-wise in the garage, and I've done a couple. You'd have to cipher through my videos from last year, possibly. Did a couple of camping trips, which I completely enjoyed, but I'd rather do it with more people. But as I said, the people I have been riding with aren't interested in camping at all, so it's had to be hotels. But I'm definitely up for camping, and especially if I came to UK, went up to Scotland or Wales. I know in Scotland, I know you could do sort of wild camping and whatnot, so that saves a bit on hotel costs, and it's just something I love. I was a military man for 11 years. I've always been out in the wilderness, and I've always enjoyed that sort of thing. So, yes, definitely. for me, 100%. It's just whether I do it on my Todd. But finding other people that like to do that is a bit more difficult, especially now I'm getting a bit older. People my age don't necessarily want to sleep under some sort of damp canvas, but I'm up for it. I don't give a monkeys. Mark Ruling, what's the story around weekend road closures? I'm guessing that's the German thing for they close certain roads, or especially biker oriented roads, on weekends and bank holidays. Now, basically, that's come a cropper, whether it's been through certain villages where, say, in high season, 1,000 bikers go through the village of a weekend. So they complain to the council about all the noise that it's caused. That can be one factor. Second factor is all the on sort of twisty areas where a lot of accidents happen. That could be the second factor why a road's been closed on weekends. Basically, the high season biker days, they then close off. Not everywhere, but on the sort of mainstream areas where accidents happen, or as I said, villages where noise is at a high, and the locals are sick of it. Luckily, around where I live, there's only a few. You'll see a lot more down towards probably the areas that people visit from when they're coming over from UK. So the Eiffel and the Mosel, around sort of the Nürburgring, down towards the Black Forest. That's the highest tourist attraction. So there's a lot more sort of closures around those areas. Where I live, where I ride, minimal. I will see some, but it's not that bad at all. But I don't know. It's it got made out to be more than what it was. But I don't live in an area where it's become an issue. But as I said, down towards the Eiffel and the Mosel, around the Nürburgring, that sort of area, there are a lot more. So that's the idea behind it. Is it's the noise factor for the locals. They're sick of it, and the other factor is the accidents that are caused by not caused by motorbike riders, but the accidents that happen, whether it's somebody else's fault or not, but it's down to that those two reasons. So it's frustrating, but as I said, around here there's not too many. Mike Gooner, what's the best riding gear you've got, Sean? Well, newly the Rucker Pro Gore-Tex laminate suit that I've got, absolutely amazing. Regardless of what the weather is, whether it's warm, cold, pissing it down, you don't have to worry about anything. You can just slap that suit on. You don't have to pack any waterproofs. It's expensive, without a doubt. What was it? The jacket and trousers is at least €2,500. But when I think about all the other jackets and trousers and the suits that I've got in my cupboard, that I've bought throughout the year, tried whether I thought they must be more waterproof than the other. You buy expensive waterproofs that go over the top, which I did from KTM, that cost me $150, or even more, I think. So when you kind of siphon through all the gear that you've bought throughout the year to test for whatever reason, for warmth, waterproofness, it pretty much comes to the same cost as forking out for a $2,500 pro laminated Gore-Tex suit from Rucker. And I love it. And it came quite a lucky time. I was looking to buy one anyway, and I was in contact with Rucker just slightly after the time that I was looking for one, and they asked if I wanted to test it. So obviously it came at a great time for me. But if I hadn't been sponsored that suit, I'd have bought one anyway, because I was sick of being wet and cold. Not that I had rubbish gear before. I had other rucker suits, less than half the price, that were still Gore-Tex. But it's without going into it too much, you can watch my reviews, but the inner Gore-Tex layer is not sufficient. The laminated Pro Gore-Tex is the way to go, in my opinion. If you're somebody that crunches the miles, rides in all weather, there's no point in scrimping and scraving on gear. And I've been of that opinion even before I started working with companies, or companies started sponsoring me gear. You need to fork out on gear. There's just no way around it. If you're doing the miles and you're riding in all weathers, there's just no point in cutting back on gear, whether it's gloves, helmet, boots, gear, normal suits. You got to go full hog if you want to be comfortable, and that's just how it is. Yes, there's a lot of people that say, well, I can't afford that. Well, that's fine. Then you have to, you can only buy what you can afford. But if you can afford it, then you've got to, it doesn't necessarily have to be Rucker. There's other brands out there that do full laminated Gore-Tex gear. But it's the way to go. If you want quality, if you want to be comfortable, you have to pay for it, and that's just how it is. It's across the board. Buying cheap gear just doesn't work. It may get you by for a bit, but it's not going to last, and it's not going to help you out in the long run. So I'm chuffed to buggery with the Rucker gear, and lately they sent me the Rucker Klima M heated and cooling vest. Again, expensive, but I've been using that now the last couple of months. Fantastic. Obviously, it's not without its issues, which I'll do a review on, but absolutely fantastic. And over the last sort of few weeks where it's been cold here, and now I'm sort of getting older, it's been a godsend. The heated vest, absolutely amazing. If your core is warm, that's all you need. Your hands don't get cold, then you don't even need sort of heated gloves or thick gloves. Your boots, if your core is warm, then it draws your blood into your core. It doesn't draw into your core, sorry. If you're cold, your core just draws all your blood into your core to keep everything near warm. So that's when your arms start getting cold, your hands, your feet, your legs. But if your core's warm, then your blood just flows. So it seems a bit wanky to say, seems a bit geeky, but that's just how it works. And I'm loving it. Whether I'd buy one, whether I'd spend €1,000 on a heated vest, I don't know. There's probably some cheaper ones on the market, but it's definitely fantastic. Probably long-winded on that one. How are we doing here? Let me see. Can you imagine 6 months on a KTM and then off the road for 2 months? No, not. That's one of the reasons the KTM went. I use an iPad to edit my current content, sometimes struggling with the space on it to edit and upload. It depends what you want to edit. If you're kind of, without sounding an arse, if you just kind of, just small time, you just editing a few videos for yourself, family or whatnot, or just a couple of biking videos. I mean, I started out on an iPad, but it quickly became unusable, just for the fact, if you're using one camera and it's just a couple of minutes, you might be able to do something with it ish. But if you start using multiple cameras and you want to sort of, get things a bit more sort of, I wouldn't say professional, but a bit more sort of slick looking, then you're not going to do well on an iPad. You got to go PC, Mac.
Get your missus or the kids on the back of the bike. Would be good to get two up perspective. That's pretty much nobody bothers to cover it. Yeah, I mean, my daughter came out on the back of my KTM on the Super Duke. I would agree. This is a topic that not many people cover. Yeah, I mean, I don't know any motovloggers other than TMF that I watch. I'm sure there are people that do it. That take their spouses on the back. I mean, I know TMF has, but he's just recently, over the last few months, bought a frigging gold wing, so you can't really go wrong for a pillion on a bloody gold wing. But yeah, it's something that my wife is interested in doing, so I'm sure that will become in the future. Scott Yeager, what editing software do you use? I use Filmora 10. Again, I started off with Filmora, and Filmora do a professional version, but I find the professional versions, whatever it is, extremely complicated. I tried a few of them on the pro level, but I probably didn't give it the time. I just found it complicated and kind of mugged it off. Filmora 10 is a kind of a compromise from a sort of low level basic editing software. From the pro level, it's kind of an in between version. So at the moment, everything that I'm editing, I can do it on that software. There are some restrictions that I do find frustrating. Yeah, eventually I may have to go up to a pro level software. We shall see, but for the moment, I'm able to sort of make half decent content on what I'm using now. I said it's between a basic and a pro version. It's much sort of user friendly, but yeah, that's what I use at the moment for Filmora 10. So we shall have to see how that progresses, and I imagine at some point I'll upgrade to some sort of pro version. And to be honest, I'd probably go with Adobe in that respect, because I use Photoshop and Adobe Lightroom for photo editing. I'm quite a keen photographer, so I'm familiar with all their sort of photo editing software, and it comes at a sort of a monthly subscription. So I could probably add in the Adobe Premiere, I think it is, for their video software. I could probably add that into my sort of subscription. But as I said, it's quite complicated, but we shall see. But for now, Filmora 10 will stay for a bit. Mike Griffith says, your content is excellent, Sean. The reason why we're all here. Thank you, Mike. Much appreciated. Terry Brooks, have you ever toured Poland? No. I did in my military days. I was in Poland a lot of the time. I think we were there a couple of times a year. Oh, what was the town? What was the place we... Oh, I can't remember the name. It's been so long. Hazard a guess. Something Promovsky. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long. I was a lot of the time, 2 times a year at least in Poland for a good number of weeks. We used to exercise from the military in Poland, but not on a bike. And I've not even ridden. I've not done 1 mile in UK on a motorbike. There you go. For those of you that don't know, some of you will know that, but I've been in Germany for nearly 22 years. When I did my bike license here in Germany, I was a kind of a late starter on the bike scene. And even I came to Germany when I was 17, so I didn't even drive a car. It wasn't even a full year that I drove a car in the UK. So for me, driving in England on the left side of the road is bizarre for me, because I just never had the experience. I just never stayed there for very long. So I came from UK when I was 17. And I'm going to be 40 in 3 weeks' time. There you go. And I've never ridden a bike in UK.
that's sad. But I'm sure I shall remedy that at some point, hopefully next year. Whether it's a short trip, whether I just do a week or something. I mean, I don't have to throw 2 weeks at it. But like with everything, I'm sure everybody's in the same boat. Corona has just buggered everything up. Everybody's plans. Yeah, I mean, I'm dying so bad to get to. Oh God. I'm dying to get back to the Alps, but to be honest, for riding wise, I'd rather go to the Alps, but yeah, likewise, I want to come to UK. I mean, I appreciate that, although in some areas the UK is good for riding, some not. The road conditions are a bit different to what I'm used to here, but I just want to meet people. I just want to meet all you guys. I want to meet all the other sort of top vloggers that have been asking me for ages to meet up with. I just want to have that interaction with you guys. So I'm sure the Alps will probably take a back seat, and UK will happen next year. So, and not just. I mean, my folks moved up to Scotland 3 years ago, so that's now for me on tap. Do a bit of Scotland, B500, some inland stuff. But I kind of want to do a whole UK tour. So come down to through Yorkshire, through the sort of Lake District, into Wales. I mean, I'll probably never visit my hometown again. I come from South England because my parents moved up to Scotland. All my family live in Scotland now, so I'll probably never go back to my hometown. But I just want to do a UK tour. So hopefully that happens, and I'm sure it will. I shall do my best to do it. And as I said, that will probably happen before some sort of European / Alps tour. So we'll see how we go. Any chance of a US tour? Oh God, in the future. Richie Vida did one a couple of years ago, and it was super entertaining. Oh, I mean, if money and time was no option, then yes. I mean, for me, I'm lucky if I can do two big tours a year. Definitely 1 year, but because obviously I've got family commitments. The wife wants to go on holiday. I've got 4 kids ranging from 18 to 5. Some don't want to come on holiday, some do. And obviously you've got to tie that in with school holidays and whatnot. It's just not feasible for me to just piss off for 2 or 3 holidays, just bike holidays, So a US tour at the moment is probably not on the cards. I mean, as I said, I can get to UK. I can do a bit in Europe for a week or 2, but that's like once a year. So that's my sort of card for going away on a biking holiday done for the year. So a US tour, you've got to chuck more than a week at it. Obviously, really you want to be going there for at least 3 or 4 weeks. So that's just not feasible in my sort of current situation. But definitely, I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to go anywhere. I'd love to go all over the place. And if I could, financially, it's not so much of an issue, but time-wise, as I said, family commitments, it's a lot more difficult to do. But maybe later on in life, I mean, I'm not that old that's not going to happen. So maybe as the kids get older, then I can do something. So we'll see how we go. Good morning from Australia. Good morning, Scott T. How's it going? What time is it now in Australia? Give us a shout. Glad you popped by. MC Gooner, yes, but Richie Vida was never the same when he got back. Really? I don't know. Well, he was gutted that he had to go home, or possibly.
I've not seen that much actually of his US tour. I've seen a lot of his recent content, and we definitely want to do a meetup. I'd love to meet Richie, but I've not watched too much. I've seen some of his US content, but I've not seen it all the way through or anything. It's the same with all us sort of vloggers, YouTubers, because we're so busy immersed in our own shit. You know, we don't watch too much of everybody else's. You know, although I watch, you know, we're all subscribed to each other's channels. Sometimes you just haven't got time and you don't keep up with everything. You know, I try to keep up with it as much as I can, but you watch the content that would probably interest you, but and everybody's the same. All the, you know, Teapot One, Lamb Chops, everybody's the same. They're all, you know, we're all immersed in our own stuff that we don't get to see each other's, or everything that everybody else produces. We don't see it all necessarily, just because we haven't got time, which is a shame. But yeah, I'd love to meet up with Richie and Lamb Chops for sure. And I'd love to meet TMF, to be honest. So hopefully that happens next year. We'll see how we go. And with John, official Mr. Fish, love to meet him as well. So yeah, it's just a shame living in Germany and all the sort of constraints that we have here as vloggers. It's it doesn't happen for us as much. You know, not that I'm saying everybody gets handed it on a plate in the UK, but it's definitely much easier to sort of get on test bikes, launches, etc. if you're some form of successful tuber. Okay, what else we got here? Foxtrot Tango Whiskey. That's a good username. How's the cooling on the jacket? Though, if living in a warm climate, does it properly cool you down? There's no way it can work as good as a heating. But yeah, the Brooker Klima M is definitely a very good vest. The heating function, I would say, is better than the cooling function. As I said, I'll bring out a review on the vest at a later date. I've still not got around to filming that yet, but yeah, I don't know how. I've not used it I've probably used it up into sort of 25, 26, 27 degrees heat, where I've used the cooling function, and it definitely works. It definitely cools you down. It's not like it doesn't do anything, but I think you see more of a benefit from the winter riding. The heating function on the vest is better than the cooling function. But there's a few sort of pros and cons with that vest that I'll go through. It's an expensive vest. I'm glad that I've got it. Whether I'd spend that amount of money on it, I don't know. Possibly not. I'd maybe look through some other options for a heating vest, but I think it's the only vest on the market that does both cooling and heating. But there are some areas that it can be improved on for sure. So I'll probably go through all of that in a later date. But yeah, I mean, there's some heated vests on the market for less than half the price. So, but the cooling option, it does work. It is good. It does cool you down. It does help. So it's not like it's complete dog poo or anything. But yeah, as I said, more to come on that at a later date. Evening. How's the Red Beast? Have you ridden the 900 XR? Thinking of having one for my big bike. Then step up to the 1000. No, I've not been on the 900 at all, but I'd imagine I don't know. Like with most modern bikes, I can't imagine it's bad, but I've not been on it as yet. But whether I would go on it or not, I don't know. I don't even know the power output on the 900 to the 1000. I mean, the 1000 has 165 PS. I don't know how much the 900 XR has, but From looks, they're fairly similar. But yeah, if you're just sort of starting out, it's a possible good bike to have in that respect for power wise, just to get used to riding before you sort of upgrade. So I'd always recommend to start on a smaller bike. So yeah, whether I'd say the 1000 was too much for a new rider, I don't know. The Super Duke R, definitely too much. Just for how it rides and how it behaves, but I don't know. The 1000 XI is well behaved down low, unless you're wringing its neck where all the beans and the power kicks in. You can ride that thing pretty casual, and it probably wouldn't catch anybody out. It's not snatchy. I don't know. Although, yeah, it's a bit of a weapon up top, but you can ride that thing fairly casual. So I don't know. I'd always recommend for a new rider to start on a smaller bike, but whether the XR would be too much, the 1000 XR would be too much for a first bike, possibly just for the size of the thing, because it's massive and it's heavy to maneuver about. Riding not an issue. Yeah, I think like with anything, I think it's better to start on a smaller bike that you can sort of manhandle about, the parking lot at slower speeds, manhandling it around your garage, driveway, etc. Just to get used to a bike, I would say go smaller. So the 900 probably be good for that, or smaller still. But power wise, yeah, it's subjective. Some riders, not a chance in hell they'd be able to handle 1000 cc. Some start on 1000 cc and have no issues. It's subjective, but as a sort of rule of thumb, it's always best to start on a smaller bike just to get used to things before you cock and balls out. Ducati Richie, a Brit, a blonde, a bike for 2 up, touring funny bloke. Yeah, I've seen a bit of their channel. Not recently, but couldn't comment, to be honest. Sean, when are you 40? I'm 62 on the 12th of November. 18th of November, I'm going to be 40. There you go. So there'll probably be a big party, probably less riding and more beer drinking. I think we're having a bit of a bash. I think the wife's organised some sort of half surprise do. I think there's going to be a good 40, 50 people here at the house. It's probably going to get a bit messy. Let me just scroll through. I think we're probably fairly done. How much are we doing for time? God, we've been banging on now for over 2 hours. So unless everybody's pretty much done, maybe a couple more questions. If anything comes in, then I'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll probably sort of wrap things up. I mean, have I answered everything everybody wanted to know on the KTM issues? Is there anything I haven't covered or people want to know? As I said, maybe people have missed the start of the live stream where I banged on a bit about the issues I was having. If there's anything that people want to know direct, I mean, because since I made that video, I mean, it's probably one of the most successful videos that I've made is the transition from the Super Duke to the S1000 XR. I had so many comments, so many views on that video. People wanted to know all kinds of stuff. So if you are now live with me now and you missed the start of the live stream where I covered a bit about why I binned it off, then do chuck them down in the comment section below about what you want to know, because other than that, I'm pretty much over it. I'm probably not going to talk about it too much. And on future content, especially now with the new bike, I'm not going to dwell on the fact and keep banging on about getting rid of that bike. It's happened for the reasons that I sort of or didn't speak about in my content, because I kind of kept it out of my content because I didn't want to be the whinger about KTM. But if you want to know anything else now on this live stream before I sort of put it all to bed, then do quickly fire away. But yeah, it's unfortunate. As I said at the start of the live stream, best bike without a shadow of a doubt that I've ever ridden. And for the joy factor that thing gave me, I've had no other bike other than that bike that made me smile and have so much fun on two wheels than the Super Duke are. It's just a shame that the whole package just didn't fit, just didn't work. There's just, I don't know. I even thought to myself, maybe I'm over exaggerating. Maybe I'm personally making more out of it than what it is, because I personally didn't have that much of an issue with it. But when I was out riding with 4 or 5 other Super Duke riders, and we rode as a sort of collective, the problems that we had as a collective, I had less issues than anybody else, but the problems we were having, and I could probably list you them all as I did at the start of the video. You'd probably think that list that I'd read out was probably kind of based over 200 or 300 bikes, but we're talking 4 or 5 bikes. The issues that we're all having. So it can happen, yes, but when you're just not getting the support from the dealer, for me that's the worst scenario ever. Even no matter how small. Even a mate of mine, that his radiator failed on the way to a trip out. We were doing a weekend or 3 days away. His radiator failed on the way to the meetup, so he quickly went to the dealership. My radiator's pissed out all over the floor. Covered under warranty, but they wouldn't give him a bike. And he was so excited about, and as we all were, about the weekend, about going out on a ride, and he should have been given a courtesy bike, and they wouldn't give him one. So in the end, he was pissed off, and he went home. Although a couple of us that were riding, although not me, 2 other guys had second bikes. They offered him his second bike, but he was so cheesed off with the whole thing that he kind of sort of just went home and was like, "No, sod it. I can't be asked now. KTM have pissed me off." So it's not even all the issue or the minimal issues that I had. Seeing the collective, the grand scheme of things, or the other issues that everybody else was having, and not being able to ride because their bike was knackered for whatever reason, couldn't get parts, couldn't get a workshop appointment. Although it didn't affect me directly, as I said, I only had a few issues. It was just the whole thing where I thought, this is shite. I don't want that. If this happens to me next week, when I've got a week, a trip planned away, and my bike goes plums up just before I go, and they say, "You're not getting a courtesy bike. It's not included in KTM's warranty." I don't want it. I don't want that. BMW give courtesy bikes if you've got an issue, like I had on my older S1000 XR. So, yeah, it's just something I didn't want to be dealing with, and it is a shame because the engine, the bikes that KTM are producing, the Super Adventure S, what an amazing adventure bike that is. The 890R, what an amazing bike that is. Although I feel too big for it. I felt a bit out of place. It's a small bike. And all these other, smaller 890 adventure bikes, I'm sure, that are amazing. The engines KTM produce, amazing. It's just a shame because they could be the best. They could be one of the best, but there's just so much other stuff that just doesn't work out. And it's just, whether it's the dealership, the manufacturer, the support, the service from KTM is just not up to standard. But I said, I don't want to dwell on it too much. I don't want to repeat myself too much. I don't want to, it is what it is. I decided to get rid of mine. I was a bit apprehensive if I was making the right decision. But I'm confident that I did make the right decision, because it's now gone. The XR is not a crap bike. It's an amazing machine. Yes, I may have mentioned in the review I did when it first came out that it was a bit characterless. It is, compared to the S1000, the Super Duke 3.0, to a V-twin. Slightly it is, but getting to know it now, it feels like I've never gone. I rode it when I picked it up from the dealership. I know 30 Ks to home. I rode it another day, 50 Ks, just a short ride. But day before yesterday was the first ride out. I did 250 Ks on it, where I properly rinsed it, maybe more than I should have, breaking it in. But it's like I never left. It wasn't a bike that I had to sort of get used to, that I didn't feel confident on from sort of, I don't know. Okay, from the dealership, it was in the rain. I rode it home, so I didn't ride it hard or anything. But from the first big ride that I did day before yesterday, I didn't feel like that she'd gone. And to be honest, I mentioned in that video that will come. I mean, I've spent now a year and a half, or just over a year, on the Super Duke R, which it kind of, although I could handle the bike in the rain, it kind of knocked my confidence, because I was, or in the winter, especially winter and rain, because I was riding the thing on sports tires. It kind of knocked my confidence in the colder temperatures and in the rain, because I didn't have the confidence in the grip. I couldn't get the temperature into the tires, or even if I did, I couldn't keep the temperature in the tires. And even on previous videos I did, where I was sort of crawling around bends, or even having a few moments where I went straight on. Couple of rides I did out with Andy where I rode it like a complete, I felt like a complete idiot, but it was down to, I mean, riding sport tires in the winter is just not going to happen. And for me, it's, it was a bike that I loved, but riding the miles that I do, and I ride all year round, probably not the most practical. So even being back on the XR, I mean, today wasn't warm. It was wet in some places, but I didn't have the lack of confidence issues. Now this bike is now building up sort of my confidence for winter riding, and being on a set of sports touring tires. It was ridiculous. I said day before yesterday I went out. Oh no, was it yesterday? Yesterday. Yeah, the confidence is now going back up. As I said, the Super Duke knocked my confidence in the winter, in wet riding, knocked it down a fair bit. But just for the fact that I was riding on sports tires. You don't want to be riding on sports tires at plus 5 degrees Celsius in the rain. There's no way you're going to get a temperature in the tires. So in that respect, I'm not going to look back. I will miss it for sure, but needs must. Things go on. This is what we do. Okay, a few more questions, and I'm probably going to end it. What time now? 10:30. Mike says, I'm coming over for the party. Yeah, you're more than welcome, Mike. Mike Crook asks, what's the best helmet you use? I was a massive fan of Shoei. I had 2 Shoei GT Airs. I had the XR 1100, I think it was. Expensive helmets, but then I managed to get last year an HJC R for 70 on Black Friday, and I had I had a voucher, and I ended up getting that helmet for 200 euros, and that's normally a 400 euro helmet. The Shoei GT Airs are around 600 euros here, which proved to me with the Alpha 70 that you don't have to spend that amount of money, because the Alpha 70 was just as quiet, fitted just as well, had the same sort of touring capabilities with regards to sun visors, air ventilation. But again, as a sort of a motor vlogger, you have to, that could be all well and good, but if you know you're wiring up your internal microphones to your GoPros and whatnot, whether you can vlog in a helmet like that is sort of trial and error. But it worked fine. Maybe even slightly better. I don't know. But it was a fantastic helmet. So yeah, I got a helmet for under $200 that should have cost over 400. Yeah, so up until then, I'd always used Shoei. I did have a Nishua Carbon Enduro helmet in between, which was a cheaper helmet. Wasn't as great for vlogging because it was a fairly noisy helmet. So there was a lot of wind noise. But yeah, I possibly look for different things as what the normal rider would look for. Obviously, safety. You know, any modern day helmet is pretty safe. I probably look for, obviously comfort is a big thing, but whether I can vlog successfully in a helmet is something that's obviously up there, more on higher on my list than the normal rider perhaps. But yeah, HJC for the win. All is well with HJC. Some people have missed the start, but you can watch this back later on. And let me see. You made the correct decision. Yes, I'm pretty happy that I did. Where's Andy Mancam? Andy is he's working today, which is a bit of a shame. Would have been nice to have him on the chat, but that poor sod has had to go back to work after 2 years off. But yeah, I'm hoping to get something done with Andy. We need to get some sort of winter weekend. I said to him the other day, a winter weekend away would be good, because we went together last year. We went to Turingerwald in the winter, pissed it down. It was freezing. We both went with the wrong gear, and it was miserable. Although, it looked pretty funny in the video. It was awful, but kind of funny at the same time. Nothing really phases me. And same with Andy. We thought any other sort of maybe normal person would have probably lost their shit in the riding that we were doing. But I don't know. I kind of find the comedy or we both do. We find the comedy in any shite situation. So, yeah, we're definitely looking to get some sort of weekend or winter weekender away. We're just kind of possibly hindered by Andy's work commitments, but we shall see. We'll see how we go. Right, I think we're pretty much done, unless all the thoughts, questions about KTM. Something about the GT here. Thoughts about the KTM GT? Is this context? Regret swapping the GT? No, I don't regret swapping the GT. Just with the Super Duke was a whole entirely different machine. The GT was a great bike, but the Super Duke was slightly more refined, if you like. But I've heard they were bringing out the GT. The new GT was supposed to be out this year. That was getting the sort of fundamentals and whatnot from the new Super Duke R. But speaking to my dealer, they told me that the new GT, they'd stopped and it was being discontinued. They weren't even going to be making the new GT anymore. So, and I've not heard anything different about that. So whether I don't know whether the new GT is happening. Can't tell you. According to my dealer, it's not happening. And it won't be made anymore, but I don't know, maybe that will change. But even if it was, I won't be rushing to go back to KTM, which is a shame because, you know, they're fantastic bikes, but not without issue. Now, you know, I'd heard before I owned one myself of the issues. The stories behind KTM, they're always knackered. Now my GT, Super Duke GT, I had for 2 years, and the only thing that happened, the only thing that went wrong on that bike was the master cylinder on the clutch went. Got covered under warranty, all is well. But that was the only problem I ever had with that bike. Now I had more problems with the Super Duke R, but as I said, regardless, you know, the problems I was having, all the people I was riding with were having more problems than me, and it just became, you know, every ride out just became a thing. You know, everyone was expected to break down, and even rides that I weren't involved on, you know, I'd get message, I broke down, my gear linkage fell off, or my fuel tank decided to empty its load all over the road. The fuel tank just emptied everything all over the engine, all over the floor. As I said, although not all the problems happened to me, I don't know. I was just thinking, this is pump, you know, and that and the fact that you couldn't get a workshop appointment, you couldn't get parts for so long. Yeah. As I said, I want to kind of now brush that under the carpet now after this live stream. I don't really want to dwell on the KTM thing. You're more than welcome to ask the odd question here and there, but I'm kind of done with it now. I don't want to I want to get rid of it. I mean, the bike's gone anyway, but I want to put it to bed. You know, it's not worked out for me. I wasn't the happiest at KTM, and friends and riders that I ride with aren't either. And hearing other sort of horror stories and whatnot. As I said, I want to experience the bikes for myself. I have done. I've been riding 3.5, nearly 4 years KTM. Yeah, it's been a bit underwhelming towards the end. So, as I said, I want to put that to bed now. I've got the BM. I've got the S1000 XR. Onwards and upwards. I love the thing. It's going to be an amazing bike for sure. And yeah. Looking forward to touring on the XR for the future. So as I said, I mean, there's plenty more content to come over the winter period. There's still rides that I want to do. We shall see how long that goes, depending on the weather. But as I said, next year there should be some sort of large tour happening. Hopefully, I get over to UK to meet a lot of you guys and. Yeah, just to do a tour around the UK, and the Alps will have to wait another year, possibly. I don't know. We'll see how we go. But yeah, for now, that's pretty much it. Hopefully, I've answered all of the questions that you sort of asked and wanted to hear about. Most of it negative, obviously, to do with the KTM issue, but we've got to stay positive. The positive now, I've got an S1000 XR that is absolutely mwah. So I'm probably going to end things now. Hopefully you've had a good one, and I will see you in the next one. Unless there's any last questions, give you 2 minutes. If you want to ask anything burning before I piss off and drink the rest of this beer downstairs. Other than that, I think we're pretty much done. I mean, live streams, I don't do too many of them because most of the time with family commitments with 4 kids tearing about this house, my older kids are older. So when they have friends around, they're on the beers, they're playing PlayStation. The house is pretty loud. So for me to get an opportunity where it's been like this, where it's just been quiet, nobody's been screaming, knocking the place down, it's a bit more difficult. But it's something that I would probably like to do a bit more. I mean, I've always said I'd like to do it at least sort of one a month. But sometimes it's difficult, but we shall see. I have been invited onto Teapot One's podcast. Well, for the third bash, but that's not going to happen till December. So there's a lot of stuff, plenty of time for you to ask more questions on what I'm doing or what he's doing or what we're up to. So that will happen mid-December. I think we've planned that in for. So that will happen. But unless nobody else has got any more questions, I'm probably gonna ditch it for the night. Anyway, I'd like to thank you all that came along for the live stream. I don't know how many we've got. We had 100 up to one point. Some people have already gone to bed. But yeah, thank you all for coming along. Thank you all for taking part in the live stream and coming along for the chat. Thank you all for your questions and queries about all kinds of shizzle. Unfortunately, mostly negative about KTM, but as I said, please don't be put off by KTM. I try to, I don't know, although, you know, we've all had, or many have had problems, there are many people that haven't had any issues like any manufacturer. You know, there's people that have had problems with BMW, there's problems with Yamaha, there's problems with every manufacturer. It's just how you're looked after. Unfortunately, sometimes it is down to the staff or people that work in the dealerships. Could be a good dealership, could be a great bike, but if you've got some knob end at your dealership that's an utter bull bag, then it's unfortunate that your bike experience can be ruined by just one person at a dealership. It's unfortunate, but it's how it is. But we all have to go on with it. But we all have to do our own things, and if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, and you have to go elsewhere, like I've done. But onwards and upwards. Plenty more to come. So I'm going to probably bugger off now. So we shall see you in the next one. Thank you all for watching. Take care.